As we set ourselves on the road to Christmas, rather than focusing on CRO and marketing, we make no excuse that we're going to use this podcast to showcase the work of one of the charities that we support, Sussex Cricket Foundation. For us, it's much more than simply getting our logo on the front of the team's shirt. It's about supporting the sterling work that these guys you're about to hear do, day after day, week after week, to help bring joy and fulfilment to many children who are often marginalised. I'm joined by Gary Wallis-Tayler, Community Cricket Director, Aroop Tanna, Disability Cricket Manager, and Tom Belcher, PE Teacher at Slindon College. We hope that by listening, you as an individual, or more importantly as a business, think about how your company could support local charities that need help, especially during the current financial crisis. So Gary, where does community cricket sit within Sussex Cricket?
Community cricket in Sussex is a key part of Sussex Cricket Limited, I guess. We're the charitable arm of Sussex Cricket, so we're the Sussex Cricket Foundation, and our job is to run grassroots cricket across the county. So that's servicing all of our clubs, which we've got 192 affiliated clubs across the county. That's all of our schools, so that's primary schools and secondary schools. And then everything we do within the community as well. So whether that's disability cricket or whether that's community-based initiatives such as In the Bag, which was a food poverty initiative that we ran during COVID. So we cover a very wide spectrum of everything to do with cricket within the community, and it's fully ingrained into Sussex Cricket. We are one organisation, and we are just as an important department as the commercial team, for example, or the professional team that play out in the field.
So what does that look like from a day-to-day perspective?
From a day-to-day perspective, the team are incredibly busy. We've got a team of 25. We get funding from the likes of Chance of Shine, who fund all of our school-based programmes, and Lord Taverners, who fund all of our sort of disability-based programs. And I'd say that's probably our core work is around school delivery and community delivery, such as the disability programs, but also our club development as well. So making sure all of our clubs have got, volunteers, coaches, safeguarding officers, make sure they've got the most appropriate facilities to play in. So day to day, it's never the same day. I think at Sussex Cricket, there's always something different going on, whether that's within the foundation or within the club. So it keeps everyone on their toes, which is good.
So is that something that's the disability part of it? Is that something that's organised on a national basis, or is that something that Sussex does on its own?
No, so the Lord Taverners, which is a sort of a disability cricket charity, they fund county cricket boards up and down the country to deliver programmes such as Super Ones, table cricket, and sort of competitions as well. So it's a national-based programme. Though in Sussex we go the extra mile, I'd say. And what I mean by that is we run 3 very successful county disability cricket teams, which very few counties do. And we also run our own event called Discoverability Day, which was set up around 10 years ago, which opens up the grounds to hundreds of young people and adults with varying degrees of disability to come out to the first central county ground to try new either cricket-based activities or activities from different sports such as football, table tennis, wheelchair, basketball. And it's probably the flagship event at the foundation. It's the one that really puts us on the map. So, apart from the funded stuff, I think we go the extra mile. And from an ECB perspective, which is the national governing body for cricket, we're described as a leading organisation in the country for delivering disability cricket, which is a great tag to have. But that really is all down to the hard work of certainly Aroop and his team of coaches, and obviously now Aroop has sadly retired from his role, but Tom's got the beauty of taking that challenge on when he starts in January. So I think we're looking forward now to seeing how we can kick it on, I guess, in the next period. So all in all, it's a very positive from from a foundation perspective, we're in a very positive place, probably the best place we've ever been in, with our profile locally and nationally, probably at its highest it's ever been in.
Before I move on to Tom and to Aroop as well, just wanted to know, is it something that has been recently promoted at Sussex, or has disability cricket been going for a long time? Because you said you seem to be, one of the better clubs that are doing this within the ECB.
Yeah, I think disability cricket's been around for a while, but I'd say it probably really kick-started probably when Aroop started with us sort of 8 years ago. And I think that's where we actually started to give disability cricket some real targeted focus. And it's been down to Aroop's sort of passion and drive and commitment to really getting these programs off the ground, building the relationships with the likes of Lord Taverners, and having the sort of the foresight to run events such as Discoverability Day, which, was probably a little bit of a pipe dream at first, but to get, on a regular basis between probably 600 and 700 participants to come to the ground, it just shows what's happened in sort of that 8-year period. So I think, Aroop deserves the utmost credit, and we wouldn't be in the place we'd be in without what he's done.
So, Tom, it sounds like you've got a big pair of shoes to fill here, by the looks of it.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, it definitely is a big pair of shoes to fill. But take it very willingly and with excitedness, because to have such a lengthy but detailed handover from Aroop definitely puts me in a place where I feel pretty confident in being able to start confidently.
So you don't start till January, is that right?
No, yeah. So still a little bit of time yet. So several weeks until January.
Okay.
But, excited.
Aroop, tell me a little bit about your kind of life within Sussex Cricket, because it sounds as you've been there 8 years, and from our conversations earlier, you're going into semi-retirement now. I'm sure you're going to miss it. What was it like during your day to day?
Well, it was. It's been a huge. It's going to sound like a real cliche. A big journey. When I started at Sussex 8 years ago, I originally started as a volunteer, and then was taken on a consultancy basis. And at the time, Sussex had a budget to deliver some disability cricket activities, but didn't really have much in place or a plan. So there wasn't a huge amount going on. It was just literally me as a resource, a couple of days a week, and a few small activities, and a couple of coaches delivering bits and pieces. So I kind of was given the freedom to start with a blank sheet of paper, and develop a program which I think Gary's alluded to is kind of well structured and highly regarded, and that really, having the opportunity to have the freedom to, I guess, come up with a design of a program, was hugely beneficial. And I think one of the things that I would say that made a massive difference was the board at the time, or the management team at the time, really bought into the idea that disability cricket should be a discrete team, and a dedicated team focusing on that particular part of the community. So whereas other counties would have a community coach, and they might deliver a school session, a club session, they might go and do a session with women and girls, or a street cricket session. They might also do a disability session. So they'll have a portfolio of different cricket sessions with different groups that they'd work with. What I was really keen on was that we had just coaches working on delivering to the disability community alone. And that the reason for that really is that I kind of wanted to get to understand more about the group we were working with. I'm not a sort of disability rights activist, but I kind of, it was a new area for us, and for me, I've just really wanted to understand what this world and it was like for the group of people we're working with. And what I found was we had working people who were often marginalised in terms of where they sat in society. They didn't have access to stuff, or there wasn't provision of things for them to do. And also there was a real anxiety and concern for young people, children with disabilities, to engage with sporting activities and their families. And so I felt it needed to be something that needed a little bit more than just turning up for an hour in a sports hall and just delivering a session and walking away. It's a much richer program in that sense. So a lot of the time initially was really understanding who we're working with, developing relationships with different groups, um, talking to people that ran disability charities, teachers that worked in special schools, and parents, parents and carers. Um, and what I found was really trust and confidence were the two issues that we needed to work on. So having the same coaches who would deliver a school session, who we might put on a club session after school, having the same coach who a young person might work with in school, then being a club session, and having that relationship and recognizing that individual, building that trust, and then having the parents coming along to pick that young person up at the end of the session and getting to know the parents, talk to them, was a real benefit for us in growing the program. And it helped us understand, because I don't have a disability, I don't have any close family members, so having that lived experience is not something that I know about. So we needed to find out more, and I think that was the big period initially, was really getting to understand the groups we work with, and then gradually the ECB, Gary mentioned, the governing body, decided to put a structure in place around what they wanted to see delivered. So the first thing was they recognised having disability cricket delivered across the country was a priority, one of many priorities, but it made its way into the cricket strategy for the country, which was from 2020 to 2024. And disability cricket was there, and they designed a pathway of what disability cricket should look like, which gave us the structure to go, okay, we'll build around this, and we'll build a program that addresses each stage in this pathway. And that, so a lot of my work was then putting um, activities in place at each of those stages of the pathway, and making sure that we had a really good schools program across the county. We had community clubs that were located across the county, so we were working with children and young people in schools and colleges, and then we could say, well, actually, you've done an hour with us at school. If you really have enjoyed this, here's a club you can go to that runs every week throughout the year, and you can come along and you can make friends from people from different schools, different parts of the community, build some friendships up, build some friendships up, and have some fun. And then the other bit that goes on that was, and if you're really really good at cricket, you can play for Sussex and play in our county squads. So making sure there was a connected pathway.
That sounds like a good incentive to be able to kind of dangle that carrot in front of them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if you're really, really good, you might end up playing for your country. And for some individuals, if you've been in a situation where you've perhaps been at a mainstream school and you tended to not take part in PE sessions or cricket at school because you might not have the confidence to do it, quite commonly you might have been bullied. People might have laughed at you, and you've just not really wanted to engage in sport. The prospect of playing for a sport for your country is so far removed from their reality that to suddenly take somebody into that situation and put them in a safe space and go, if you get really good at this game, you can do that, for some individuals, was just life changing. And certainly, we've had a degree of success of getting people selected and playing for England. And very recently, actually, we had a young man by the name of Alfie Pyle who we spotted at a college session in effectively a PE session, and he's gone right through that pathway from school through to being in a community club through to playing for our county, and he's just finished. I think they've just finished their tour, having made his debut for the England Learning Disability team of South Africa, They played in a triangular tournament, and he is we're told he's the first person who's gone right through every stage of that pathway, from playing in a school PE session through to playing for England, representing
Wow.
his country. And so it works. It works. The concept, the pathway works, and that's great. That's really good.
Tom, you're the PE teacher at Slindon College and have been the recipient of all of the goodness that comes out as Sussex Cricket Foundation. But you're about to take the role that Aroop has been doing over the past few years. Does that not feel as though you're poacher turned gamekeeper? Would that be a good way of describing it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose from my perspective, what as a recipient, as a teacher, as a recipient of the offer that Sussex was able to provide at the college I'm at now, was nothing in comparison to what any other governing body or local sporting organisation could commit to or offer. And I think that was, as a recipient of that, to then be part of, obviously we can go into it more, but what we then led to do with Sussex jointly with a local club was really exciting. So to then be able to apply and be part of a even more inclusive, but within the community, diverse community kind of area was an exciting opportunity for me, and one where I got to build relationships with the likes of Aroop and his team, which has been fantastic really over the last several months.
What does it mean for your school, or for your college, I should say?
So I think initially it's probably good to get the understanding of the pupils that we work with, and that's that we have a number of pupils who have educational healthcare plans. Some pupils are privately funded, and that's because they haven't been able to get hold of or be able to access an educational healthcare plan, which is quite a contentious subject as it is. But to be able to, be in a situation where we could work with a national governing body or a county body in participating in cricket, where it's fully inclusive with a variety of game formats that all pupils can access at their own level, and that's the most important thing, it's at their level, and meet the needs of them, and then have an opportunity to play within the community, and then have access to county squads, and then potentially playing for their country, is a constant excitement, especially for those who already play cricket within the community. And then for some pupils who have parents, for example, who play cricket within the community who aren't confident enough or don't feel like they have a safe space to play, that's what Sussex was able to offer. And from a school perspective, that's an amazing thing to be able to commit to, both in the short term but also offer in the long term, and have a partnership there that you can constantly liaise with and build relationships with to enable and provide those inclusive opportunities for our pupils.
So what I'm hearing from all three of you is a word that I don't often use. It's a word called passion. I can feel that each one of you is very excited about what you're doing, or in your case, what you've done. And that seems to be quite infectious. Does that infectiousness pass through to the people that actually receive the help, the players themselves?
I would hope so. From my perspective as a teacher currently, in a numbers game, we went from having 0 participants from our college, bar 1, accessing any high-level cricket outside of the college. And within a year, we've then got 8 pupils accessing Sussex cricket at different formats, representing or training with the county body. So there is, within a very short term, you have 30 plus children engaging on a weekly basis within the sport. The best part of 8 to 10 pupils who are then accessing a community game, but within Sussex itself, and representing the county is phenomenal. I believe that the passion definitely rubs off and is a tool to engage those pupils for sure.
So Aroop, you're moving on. Tom's replacing you. Tom, do you have somebody inside your organisation that is going to take up the mantle where you've left off?
So within my organisation, they've got to recruit and ensure they've got someone coming in, and that's all part of my process, is obviously talking to them about how we hand over. But that's currently kind of going through the process as we speak.
Oh, that's good. So the one word that I think all charities, and I could call this a charitable organisation too, is funding. So we as Web Trends Optimise sponsor disability cricket, but I'm sure there must be other things that, or other organisations which would be looking to be able to offer some sort of sponsorship. What do you do, if anything, to do outreach into, say, companies in and around the Brighton and Hove area to try and gain more funding from this? Is it something that's ongoing? Aroop, I'll probably put that to you.
Yes, so I think the first thing is that we work closely with our commercial team who work with business organisations across Brighton and Hove to set up, I guess, a collaborative relationship with the club. And I think a lot, certainly in my time and in the last, I guess, sort of 3 or 4 years, part of their dialogue with potential sponsors and partners is around, I guess, the social impact of our programs, and what do we do. So it's not just about, okay, get your logo on top of our shirt. That's it. You're getting some profile because you're part of the professional team and you might be on Sky TV or whatever. A lot of organisations are asking us, actually, okay, beyond that, what are the reputational benefits of us supporting a programme like yours? So we know our commercial team, when they're talking to potential sponsors, they're talking about things like our community programs, working with vulnerable youth, promoting women and girls sport, working with the disability community. So that tends to happen. So the way we tend to work is that they'll lead those sort of conversations and then bring us in accordingly and say, okay, actually these guys, this business here, particularly like Web Trends, for example, particularly interested in the disability cricket side, put us together, and then we talk about what we do. We also do some big fundraising events. So each year, the foundation has a large fundraising dinner, lunch. We usually get a well-known guest speaker along. I think the one this year coming, or next year, is on the 28th of March. I think Michael Vaughan and Phil Tufnell, two very high-profile cricketers, are coming along to talk. And we usually invite, again, lots of businesses from the local community usually sign up to come along. And we get a platform there to talk to those guys in the audience and say, look, this is, the money you've contributed for your seat at the table today, the auction that we're going to run, it goes towards these particular programs, and we do showcase what we do there. And that is how we connected with Web Trends. Actually, it was at one of our foundation lunches, but they were in the audience. Myself and Alfie, who I was talking about, the other guy who's ended up playing for England, were up on the stage just talking about what an impact him being part of our disability programs had on both him and his family, and how it's helped him both as a cricketer, but also as an individual in his personal development.
Well, certainly we found it to be that we're part of the community. And it's not just a one-way thing, as you said, putting the name on the front of a shirt. It actually feels that it is much more about you and us working together to try and help fund these children to be able to do something different from their normal day-to-day in a sports environment. So we've got a lot out of it, both not commercially, I would say, but out of it from emotionally and feeling that actually we're doing something, we're putting something back into it. I'd like to probably draw this podcast to a close, just to be able to say to any of the listeners that be listening to this, it would be great if you found that you had some money at the end of the year that you could perhaps donate to this, or perhaps get in touch with Gary or Tom in the new year to be able to look for sponsorship if that's applicable. But for now, guys, thank you, Tom. Wish you all the best in your new role. Thanks, Aroop, for all the work you've done in the last 8 years. It sounds as though you've had a great ride, and enjoy your semi-retirement, whatever that would look like to you. And Gary, let's continue to have conversations and see how Web Trends Optimise can help you guys continue delivering some great programs here. But for now, guys, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you,
John.
Thank you.
Thank you.